Hi everyone, welcome again to Mekenkie, my channel about Tantra, the Kundalini energy and breathing. Today we're going to work the spicy topic, the Kundalini energy. Our first video of the Kundalini energy. So let's talk the basics about it. The Kundalini energy is the energy of life. It's our root energy, our sexual energy, and it connects us to everything that's alive in nature. And actually it helps us connect to everything that there is in nature, not just what is alive. However, it's easy to connect through the energy of life to the other forms of life. But this sexual energy is the energy of creation and destruction, and both are sacred, both are important, and both must be integrated into ourselves as humans. Usually, we despise one side or the other, depending on where we're standing. But the truth is, and this is the big teaching of the Kundalini energy, the truth is that we must integrate our duality because, as I said before, creation and destruction are sacred and must be treated that way in order to conquer all the dimensions they bring to us, and for us not to be driven away by them and lose control. So that's the most important thing we do with the Kundalini energy. We integrate all that polarity, all that dimension. But that energy of life, that sexual energy, is the energy of our maximum human potential. And usually us as humans, we don't use that potential. We can live a perfect life without using it. Actually, the majority of people that have incarnated here on earth haven't really related to its Kundalini energy, or they were not aware of it. But the truth is, it was there. Usually it's dormant, but we relate to it in little doses that happens in life, but it's so subtle that we don't really feel it tangible. But usually we all relate to it through our sexuality. This character we have when we are in a sexual relation, that is the Kundalini energy expressing. And it needs spontaneity. If you're in the middle of a sexual relation, just thinking everything of it, you're not flowing. That sexual relation, that character of you, your sexuality needs spontaneity. So that spontaneous character of our sexuality is driven by that Kundalini energy. And we can really taste it there. But the thing is, the most important thing here is the spiritual alchemy, to transmute all that sexual energy into something else. To use that sexual energy not only when we are having sexual relations, but also when we are creating something, when we're doing something, when we're thinking, when we're socializing, when we're speaking, whatever we do as humans, to really transmute all that energy into those dimensions. But that needs practice, because what happens when this energy awakens, if you don't have the knowledge and the practice, it can tear you down because you're not prepared. It's like when you're intoxicated by shrooms or you're taking a medicine like ayahuasca. You are in a territory beyond your control. And that's the idea of it somehow, because that is actually showing you and teaching you and healing you, because we are relating to ourselves from a point where our mind is not the only one in control. That is what happens when the Kundalini energy awakens. It can tear apart the status quo of our mind. And our mind loves to have control, loves to have its place. All the belief system we have. And without that, we feel uncomfortable, we feel fear, we feel awful things. If we love to control ourselves and we have a Kundalini awakening, we're gonna have a really bad time. But if we are spontaneous and we don't control ourselves that much, we're gonna actually enjoy the beautiful part of it. Kundalini energy can take us pretty much everywhere as a human. So it can take us to the most enlightening part of ourselves and to our scariest part of ourselves. But we don't want to relate to our scarier parts. But as I said before, if you're standing in the light, you don't want to go to the shadow. If you're in the shadow, you don't want the light. You just want the shadow. But the possibility here is to integrate both of them, to work with both of them. Obviously, if we work the Kundalini energy, we might lose control of ourselves, but that will teach us something very, very important of what we are and what we need to work on and how to transmute it, because it's all there. Because that's the idea of the Kundalini energy. It's to also awaken the mechanisms we have to heal ourselves, to take ourselves to a state of rejoice as a conscious act, not just be driven away by life. Things can get messy emotionally in your mind, in your body, but it's a conscious act from which we can control a state of rejoice. And that's the most important part, because the natural state of our body is not depression, is not anger, is not violence. They're all part of us. They all conform us. But the neutral state of ourselves is rejoice. And if we're not there, our mind has definitely gone away from our center. And the Kundalini energy brings us back. And sometimes we are so far away from our center that when it brings us back, it's a shock. And that's the other point of this video. Usually, you can work your Kundalini energy consciously and try to erase that Kundalini energy in little doses through breathing, posture, movements, basically practicing Tantra. However, we usually refer to the Kundalini awakening to that moment where something happens that awakens that energy naturally. And usually what awakens that energy naturally by itself is a shock, something that causes shock to ourselves, to our body, to our mind, to our emotions. And that catapults that dimension of ourselves and open the door for our Kundalini energy to go out. And that can be a very, very extreme experience, because when that happens and we don't have the control, you can feel either terrible or enlightened. You can feel that you're in paranoia and psychosis. It's the schizophrenia because you're hallucinating and feeling things that you normally don't feel. And it's everything like you just escalated your whole level of feelings as the volume of your computer or your cell phone. When the Kundalini energy awakens and it disrupts this status quo of our mind, it can be very, very intense. You can feel euphoria, you can feel the rejoice, you can feel happiness, you can feel rage, you can feel madness, you can hallucinate, you can feel things that you never felt before. It's like turning up the volume of your cell phone or your computer or something in your sensibility, in your whole life. So another thing that can awaken this energy is, for example, the environment. When the fluctuations of energy around us allows us, or are the perfect moment that catapults ourselves to a Kundalini awakening. For example, I don't know, the full moon. Full moon usually generates a lot of emotional and inner fluctuations in ourselves and around us. So if we are in the verge of a Kundalini awakening, when it comes to full moon, it can definitely happen. Another way that we can awaken our Kundalini energy is through something that in India they call Shaktipat. It's a very nice phenomenon when someone in a high vibration can affect someone else and actually cause a Kundalini awakening in someone else. Usually in the West, this is not well used. What happens in Shaktipat is very simple. We are beings that reflect each other like a mirror, and we work that way socially. So for example, if there's someone with negativity in his head, in his soul, and you get in touch with that person, you can receive that energy by accident. For example, you go to buy something in a store, the employee treats you awful, and then you go out of the store hating life, and a lot of bad things start to happen, and you even hit yourself by accident, or it can escalate actually. It can really go beyond your control and be the worst day of your life. The same happens with high vibrations. They can affect people. So usually Shaktipat happens between the guru and the apprentice in a control setting where the guru is going to show the apprentice this dimension that we all have. However, the most important thing is that we learn how to control ourselves in all these dimensions and gradually grow our practices, our relation with the Kundalini energy, and allow it to really incorporate in life. Because if it happens suddenly, it is too intense. In my case, the first time it happened It was through a shock. I became a vegetarian and that triggered the Kundalini awakening. And I didn't know what was happening. I was very young. So it happened, but it went dormant again, because you have to practice, you have to start moving it consciously, and it really connects you to what you should be doing with yourself if you're not there. So if you have a lot of habits that are poisonous to you and are not helping to the well-being of your nature, Kundalini energy will take that away too. So we really want to relate to our Kundalini energy subtly and gradually, so we can really harvest its potential and even raise it gradually, because when you start practicing Tantra, that's what happens. All your movements, all your breathing, all your postures, all your contractions and relaxations, what allows you as the ground for your Kundalini energy to go out subtly, and not a sudden awakening that will hit yourself and your emotions and everything violently. But this energy of violence that is sacred, it needs to be integrated, going from the light to the shadows. But that's the truth of spiritual work. And that is why, for example, in the East, people have done huge things with martial arts and the Kundalini energy, allowing the humans to reach the maximum capacity of force, of stamina, of all the possibilities we can create with ourselves, right? The Kundalini energy often is related to the serpent, right? And in ourselves, we can relate that to our spine. And it's the center of our work with that energy, concentrating on our spine. Because it's that serpent movements that are the base of our capacity. So this nature of the snake, of the serpent, is fundamental in the Kundalini energy. Is that visceral dimension of it that connects us to our most essential part in ourselves, that can go from violence to enlightenment. I usually relate to this energy the idea of the dragon. Have you seen, for example, that around the world there are a lot of mythical animals that they are there referring to some animal in reality? Well, the dragon, you can relate it to snake, but it's beyond that. The snake is just too mundane for a dragon. A dragon is the maximum expression of the snake somehow. The reason why I brought this mythical animal here to understand the Kundalini energy is because I really think that the dragon is the representation of our Kundalini energy, of our maximum potential. How the dragon brings the fire out with breath, right? And that's the same here with the Kundalini energy. How you bring the power of your Kundalini energy out with breathing. It's fundamental. So really visualize this idea of the dragon as the mythical animal that symbolizes our maximum capacities as humans. And one of them, the most beautiful of them, is our capacity to love. It's our capacity to connect to life and feel its nature as it is. The unity of nature dancing, and we becoming part of it as a whole without limits. That's why in spirituality it is so important to work with our Kundalini energy, because it allows us to really catapult ourselves to feel the maximum possibilities of ourselves, spiritually, as humans, or in every other way. So it's something to be very cautious and be conscious about it. It's the biggest gift we have. And usually the majority of people don't realize it. People need to realize what we are and awaken to our nature. So if you want to go to your maximum capacities in movement and exercise, obviously the Kundalini energy is there. But if you want to stay still and meditate, really get to know what stillness is and be still for days, the Kundalini energy is there. In our relationship to God, to nature, to ourselves, So it's very important that we learn how to harvest it and integrate it in a way that it can help us and help our environment and not destroy it, because our Kundalini energy has the capacity to really destroy everything, destroy us and destroy around us. And what's the deal with us? The thing is that we are compulsive beings. And that's the reason why when the Kundalini awakening happens, if we are not focused enough, our compulsions can use that energy in a way that will destroy us. It will be totally decadence, and it can really harm around us. So it can go from enlightening to something very, very dark that maybe we cannot get out of it. So usually, yes, it's a good thing to have guidance. It is a good thing, it's important. The majority of people don't have the integrity within them to accomplish or work with the Kundalini energy and take it to a place of well-being and rejoice. Usually our mind are so full of things. Everything that our belief system constructs of the world is interrupting. It will probably not use well this energy. This energy is a fundamental energy of life that will help us connect to the fundamental dimensions of what we are, even if we are not there, even if we don't have them integrated in ourselves. So, because usually our mind go in its own, and it's really tough to really articulate it, and it's tough for us to transmute it and stop being the dimensions that maybe are not so good for us, but still we think they're good for us because we love them, we feel them as a safe place or whatever. All that chip of our mind will use that Kundalini energy in a way that's not within its essence, but to what the mind wants. And the mind, that mental dimension of ourself, is really egoic, meaning that wants to have the control of everything. And the Kundalini energy has something very important, that is spontaneity. You can really connect to the Kundalini energy by repeating postures and doing the same exercises, right? But you won't feel the ultimate consequences of it if you don't express yourself in total spontaneity. The spontaneous dimension of the Kundalini energy is one of the biggest pillars of it, because there's intelligence in that spontaneous dimension. You can grow your spontaneity. It's something that you need to delve in and really exercise it. And through repetition, you can really sense that the spontaneity is something that grows also, that you can project and allow it to be a spiral that keeps growing and growing and growing, and it's beautiful. That's the idea. So another thing I wanted to say in this video is related to people that have clairvoyance or other type of sensitivities that are there to integrate them and articulate them in life. And usually when life gives us talents like this, it gives us a lot of work to do in other dimensions of ourselves that we need to work to really transmute ourselves and really integrate the best version of what we can be with everything we have. Usually people are very scared of the things that they don't control, and clairvoyance and other sensitivities are one of them. People usually want to close that sensitivities in them and don't allow it to grow. Personally, I have decided that in my case, I want to grow that sensitivity. And you grow that sensitivity working your Kundalini energy. When you awaken it and you use it towards your sensitivities, they will grow. It's something that will grow them. So when you practice breathing and tantra and postures and movements and relaxation and contractions, all that will end up making yourself a lot more sensitive to life. If you have clairvoyance, it will grow. And it's something I recommend. I really recommend that people integrate everything that they are, because it's a gift as we are. We are a gift to ourselves. We have a package and we need to really understand what is in that package. We don't have to be afraid of it. I know it can be tough to not have the control as our mind would love to have it, but integrating all that we are, and maybe it's dormant as the Kundalini energy or sensitivities or clairvoyance, it's something that everyone should do in a conscious way, because at the end of the story, it will bring a lot of rejoice being integrated to our talents, to our gifts of life. So if you have clairvoyance, work your Kundalini energy, work with Tantra, work with breathing, and those are resources for you that will allow you to have control and will allow you to connect and disconnect to dimensions in a way that won't be so harmful to your life and to your mind, to your emotions. And I also recommend this to everyone so we can really learn the essence of ourselves and create a life consciously with what we have, not ignoring dimensions of what we are that needs to be integrated. They're screaming out to be integrated. And if you don't do that, you're gonna feel depressed. You're gonna feel that you're not worthy. You're gonna feel a lot of things that don't have a real reason, but you really are feeling them. And the reason is because your inner dimension is not coherent. It's something very subtle. And when we awaken our Kundalini energy, it allows us to connect to that natural state of ourselves, to our nature, and get to know us for the first time, because our mind has been there controlling everything and creating an experience of life that is not true. It's an illusion. But when you create a mindset and a belief system consciously, integrating your inner dimensions, integrating your natural states, integrating your nature consciously, the story is other. Beautiful things happen. That's my dream. That's why I'm sharing all this with you, because I really believe in a world that can integrate socially all this without it being something weird or something mysterious. It is not. It's something we all have. Some of us had the fortune of stepping in it by accident. The truth is, our mind is so strong that we might not see it. But when it does go out, it puts the mind in its place. And it's a place where our mind serves us. Our mind is a beautiful tool. It's an incredible tool. It's the best tool we have. But we have to observe it. We have to have attention and not let our mind be driven away by itself, because that's not the way. That's the essential nature of human taken somewhere else, where the mind has become something on its own. It's like our mind creating its own house, its own home in the middle of the jungle, but we are the forest. And the mind doesn't want to be the forest, doesn't want to be trees, doesn't want to do anything with it. So I just want to create my space here, and this is it. That's not it. We are everything. So yes, it's a very nice opportunity to work our minds, to work our body, to work our emotions, to work every way possible. That's pretty much it for today, guys. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please share, comment. If you have any questions, please write them down. This is a community, and what I want from this community is for us to connect to ourselves, to our nature, to really hear what we have to say to ourselves, that we are not hearing because our mind is just too concentrated and anchored to the world outside and to the rest of human beings and what we are dealing in the outside here. Then it's an illusion. If we stop all that and we center our attention inward and we really try to understand what's going on and see what is happening, we can organize ourselves, put everything in its place, and live a truly incredible life, creating and manifesting it from our heart and from our soul desire, not from our mind and from our ego. That desire is not the same. This is just a general video of the Kundalini energy, but we're gonna get very deep in this topic. We're gonna work several exercises that we can do, not just breath work, but another type of exercises. So I welcome you to this community. Please connect to yourself, to your nature, hear yourself. If you're here hearing me, I hope it's for you to just forget about me, just hear what you have inside and integrate that to life consciously. I assure you, everything you are have a place in the world. Usually when we think that we want to do something in the world, we castrate dimensions of ourselves and we don't bring them to life. But the truth is that there's a state of integration in life that asks for everything that we are and we have learned and we have lived, for us to put everything in the play of life. And it will help you and it will help around you and it will be awesome. So go beyond your mind and integrate your real nature, not what our mind tells us we are. No, what we really are. Let's discover it. Let's help each other. And let's create the world we want, so we can heal all the toxicity of our mind and be centered on our natural state of rejoice. That is where we should be. If we are not there, we have gone far away from our center. A mental trip in life to feel a lot of things, but at the end, none of them will be enough. The concept of feeling enough in life comes where we accept our nature and we learn to live it as it is. There's nothing else. There's nothing more than being a human. And the Kundalini energy is part of that nature of the human being. It's not something paranormal. It's just what we are. Well, that's it. Thank you for being here, and I hope to see you in the next video.